Tired of sending yet another proposal to a brand or web design client that just completely ghosts you? You put in all this work and you get no response? Let's talk about how you can stop this from happening and get every prospective client to respond to your proposals. I also want to let you know that the steps that I'm going to talk about in this video are all outlined in more detail in my email scripts for sticky client situations, which is linked in the video description below. So if you want the exact email wording to use with prospective clients to get them to respond, you'll want to snag those scripts. So first things first, if you're experiencing prospective clients ghosting and you're frustrated about it, I want to validate that frustration. This is annoying. People should communicate. It does feel rude when you take the time to put together a proposal and the client doesn't even send you a response. Sometimes ghosting even happens before the proposal, after the client inquires and you respond asking for more information or to set up a consultation call, and they never get back to you. And you're left wondering what happened. You thought they were interested. So your feelings of frustration around ghosting are valid, but I want to encourage you not to take this personally and not to get too in your head about it. There are a lot of reasons a prospective client might not be answering after they inquire or after you send a proposal. And not all of those reasons mean that they don't want to work with you. The client could be really busy, they could have somehow missed your email, or they could have meant to respond and then forgotten. In my own experience on the client side of things, when I was planning my wedding, I was communicating with a lot of vendors. I was also running my design business and working with my own clients at the same time, and responding to my own clients promptly is frankly my priority. So to be honest, sometimes I would see an email from a vendor and intend to reply to it, only to get pulled in 10 other directions and forget, and suddenly weeks go by. And it wasn't personal at all. So that does happen. Or if a client doesn't want to work with you, maybe they don't know how to tell you that. They don't want to deliver bad news, so they think that just not responding at all is a better situation. All this said, it's still frustrating. So how do you stop this from happening? How do you get a response? The first thing you need to do if you haven't heard from a prospective client is follow up after 3 to 5 business days. If you are not following up with clients who don't respond, I am willing to bet when you start doing this, you will hear back from so many more clients. You will get ghosted way less. All you have to say in your follow-up email is something like, checking in to see if you'd like to move forward with your website design, or checking in to see if you'd still like to talk more about your branding, or whatever the project is. Following up is not annoying, so don't worry about bothering the client. Remember, people are busy, and so it can actually be very helpful for them to prod them along. And it actually demonstrates good communication skills on your part, as well as a genuine interest in working with the client, which can go a long way to making them want to work with you. So let's say you do that follow-up and you still don't hear back. 3 to 5 business days after that follow-up, if you still haven't heard back, follow up again. You can send a very similar check-in message to that previous follow-up. Now you might be thinking, I shouldn't have to do this. The client should know to respond. It's rude that they're not responding. And like I said earlier, yeah, it can feel annoying, but part of running a business, which is what you're doing if you're a freelance designer, is communicating clearly and being proactive in your communications, even when you feel like you shouldn't have to. If you don't follow up, that client is going to work with someone else who does follow up, because the person that follows up stays top of mind for them. When I was planning my wedding, like I said, sometimes I would forget to answer emails because I just had so much going on. And truthfully, the vendors that followed up with me were the ones that I answered and ultimately chose to work with, because it showed that they were organized, proactive, cared about working together, and communicated well. They took the initiative, and that made all the difference. And this goes for your prospective design clients too, because you're demonstrating the kind of communication and service that they would get from you if they hired you. All right, so now you've followed up with the client twice. Let's say you still haven't heard back. What do you do now? How do you get them to respond? The next thing I would recommend 3 to 5 business days after your second follow-up is sending an email that closes the conversation. So this is not a follow-up. It's not just checking in. It's literally closing the conversation. It's letting the client know that you're not going to chase them, you're not going to keep following up, and if they want to work with you, at this point, it's on them. By closing the conversation, you are also insinuating that you need them to communicate. You're not going to keep putting yourself out there and getting ghosted. So this closing email lets the client know that you're assuming they are not moving forward at this point, and it also invites them to reach out in the future if they ever need help with anything. So you're still leaving the door open, but you're not chasing and you're not sounding desperate for work. And I want to tell you that 9 times out of 10, the client will actually respond to this conversation closing email. And they might tell you that they're not moving forward, but at least you've got a response and you've got an answer, right? If you want the exact wording to use for this email, as well as the exact wording for the 2 follow-up emails before this, definitely grab my email scripts for sticky client situations at the link in the description below. Lastly, I want to tell you why this process works when you send that closing email. When you're sending the follow-up emails where you're checking in on if they want to work together, they may do one of these things. things. One, they may see these emails and intend to respond, but then they forget and it gets put off, and then they feel like it's too late to respond, so they just don't respond at all. And when you keep emailing them, "Hi, just checking in," it's an open conversation and they're expecting you to either keep following up or just fade away. Two, the other thing that they may be doing is avoiding responding because they don't want to move forward with the project and they don't know how to tell you that. They don't want to make you feel bad, they don't want to have to explain themselves, whatever the situation may be, and they just think it's easier to not respond than to tell you no. But the thing is, on your end, you just want a response. You don't care if it's a no. You just want to know so that you're not left in limbo wondering if you can count on booking this project or not, or if you said something that offended them or what. With the situation where people are afraid to say no, you have to give them permission to say no. And so when you send an email that closes the conversation and effectively tells them, "I'm assuming you've changed your mind and I'm not going to chase you," you're taking the higher ground. You're being the bigger person, and that gives them permission to respond and say, "Actually, yes, I've decided to go in a different direction. Sorry for the late response." And there you go. Now you have your answer. For the former situation, people who keep forgetting to reply, but it's not a total no, when you send the email that closes the conversation and again tells them that you're not going to chase them, same thing. You're taking the higher ground by being a strong communicator, and their response in this case is usually going to be something like, "I am interested, but it's not the right time. Maybe in a few months I'll be ready." And then there you go, you have your answer and you can check back in with them in a few months. Or they might say, "I'm interested, I'm waiting for my board or my team to approve the project." And again, now you can say, "Awesome, when should I check back in with you?" Now, let's say you send that closing email and you still don't get a response. In that case, in my opinion, you can rest assured that you've done all you can to communicate clearly and take initiative on your end. And at this point, if the client still can't give you the courtesy of a response, they're probably not a good fit client for you, because at this point, it's clear that they don't really communicate well at all. And if someone can't respond to an email asking if they are or are not moving forward, imagine how difficult it would be to get them to respond to essential communications during a project if you were to work together. So again, yes, it's frustrating, but take comfort in knowing that it's not worth getting upset over. In fact, you learned that the client isn't a good fit. So as I mentioned, if you'd like to grab the exact wording I use to follow up with clients who ghost, and the exact wording for that conversation closing email that gets you a response 9 times out of 10, grab email scripts for sticky client situations in the video description below. These are not your ordinary email templates. They include different variations for the emails based on the specific situation. This resource also includes email scripts for handling 21 other common difficult situations, including what to say when a client asks you to lower your price, or tells you they just need a simple logo, or asks for working design files. And it also includes tips to prevent these things from happening altogether so you can work more smoothly with your clients. Snag it now at the link in the description below. That's all for now. Let me know any questions you have in a comment below, and be sure to hit subscribe so you can catch the next video about how to work better with your clients.